Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 65 in the book of John. Today's just a great question. Do you want help with sin? Because sin is a pain point for so many people. Now, for some people, the answer is no, no, thank you. I don't want any help with my sin. Why is that? Well, because sin is, at least for a time, pleasurable. But then those pleasures are temporary. That's the problem with sin. And when sin stops being pleasurable, often it becomes enslaving. And that's what our passage says today, that some people are enslaved. They're unfree. They've been captured by this. And that's going to be frustrating. So the question for all of us is, do you want help with sin? When? Not when it's pleasurable. When you're enslaved, you might want some help. So listen today as we hear this relationship between being in good relationship with His Word, God. So how do we get out of the slavery? Well, we have to have a good relationship with God. How do we do that? We have to have a good relationship with His words. There's a correlation there. This is from John chapter 8. I'm going to start in verse 31. If you abide in my words, if you abide in my word, that means to live, to dwell there, to have a geographical put your feet right there. If you abide in my word, you are truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Verse 34, everyone who practices sin is a slave to sin. So if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. You seek to kill me because my word finds no place in you. So there's two things. Abiding, that talks about a geographical place, and my word finding no place in you, both refer to kind of making a geographical presence of the Lord. So the big question today is, and maybe this is why you're here, and if so, fantastic. Can the enslavement by sin cause people to turn to God? And I think the answer is yes. So the frustration of people to be out of sin, can that drive people to God? Yes. How? Well, the pain of enslavement is often what makes people hate God, but sometimes it makes people turn to God. So we want to, today, the goal is to make Him a home, abide with Him, make a place for Him, make a geographical center for Him. So practically, how do I do that? How do I get God into my life? Well, He tells us in the passage that there's this relationship between His Word and Himself. This passage tells us by making a place for His Word, it correlates with making a place for God. So there's this direct, even an identical relationship of what you think about God and what you think about His Word. So often you can accurately assess a person's relationship with God by assessing their relationship with the Word. So often between the relationship with the Word and the relationship with God, there's no daylight between those two things. So we're about finding a place for God's Word, making it more of a geographical home. Abide in my Word, that's what it means. So why would I consider expanding the geographical footprint of the Word in my life? Well, more Word equals more Jesus. And He's gone to great trouble to connect Himself with humanity by the Word. So He's talking about an intimate, powerful relationship with Himself. And so I'm hearing Him say in this passage, do you want help with sin? So He contrasts it with the characteristics of not being in the relationship with Him, which is slavery, obligation, powerlessness, having to make a practice of sin, versus making a place for the Word, and by that, making a place for God Himself. So people that are serious about God are usually serious about His Word. I would even say, like always, I can't even think of an exception. So making a place for God equals making a place for His words. So two questions. How can I make a bigger place for God? And do I even wish to make a place for God? So can I do it? Yes, you can. How do you make a bigger place for God? By making a bigger place for His Word. And the motivation, He tells us in the passages, is to get out of sin, to get out of the obligation of sin. So do you have a powerlessness that you don't prefer? Is sin of tongue or of thought or maybe of zipper or of hand having its way of power over you and you're just sick and tired of it? If so, that's good. He's saying, make a place for my word. Explore the footprint that it is in your life, maybe mathematically what percentage or emotionally what percentage, and say to him, I would like access to this new Christian superpower, which is I don't have to be a slave to sin. I don't have to do what it tells me. I can obey a different master. So here's my prayer today. My prayer is that your sin would stop being pleasurable. That's number one. Maybe even, I can't imagine this, I pray that it would enslave you if the enslaving would drive you to the foot of the cross. And then make a place for God, a place for His Word, abide within there, make His home there. So, do you want help with sin? If so, then make a place for His Word. And then, so I would recommend three things. Come back tomorrow. So associate with me because every morning I'm trying to associate with His Word. I hope this podcast isn't about me, it's about His Word. Secondly, associate with other people who follow His Word. Now that means being in a fellowship, being in a church. It used to be go to a church where people carry a Bible. Well, now everyone carries the Bible on their phone or on their computer, but at least mentally they carry a Bible in their hand. Go on Sunday? Yes. Every Sunday? Yes. And then the third thing I would say, and this is just a great word of advice for all of us, and here we are. We are in the Gospel of John. And so my recommendation is that you read the Gospel of John. It just seems like Jesus is so much more accessible here, maybe than any other place in the Bible. So read the Bible, go to church, and come back tomorrow. Thanks for listening.